The absolutely incredible battle between Gojo and Sukuna seems to have finally ended in chapter 235 of JJK. A fight that lasted over 10 freaking chapters and showcased the pinnacle of jujitsu sorcery, and proved why this was truly a battle of epic proportions between the unstoppable force Sukuna and the immovable object Gojo. It seems we got a decisive winner of who truly is the strongest by the end of this chapter. That being said though, the King of Curses certainly still has a trump card up his sleeve that'll mean the end of Gojo regardless, and force the story to take a truly dark turn. In chapter 235, we see that Gojo is firmly in the zone after landing 2 consecutive black flashes in the previous chapter. This allows him to instantly heal the arm that was cut off by Maharaga, and this causes Sukuna to feel nervous for the first time in 1,000 years. Now this implies that there was someone 1,000 years ago that once struck fear into Sukuna at some point during the Heian era, but that's not something we'll know for sure unless we get the highly requested Heian era flashback. Fingers crossed that Gege will finally give this to us eventually, but whatever. Anyway, Gojo dishes out a few more black flashes on Maharaga as Sukuna starts theorizing what move Gojo is charging up for. Along with his chanting, the narrator explains that the start of a big move can always be noticed because of the cursed energy that flows out of the sorcerer just before using it. Sukuna deduces that Gojo will probably use Reversal Red and plans for Maharaga to tank it and adapt to it. Well, my boy wasn't wrong, but in a twist that he didn't expect, and honestly no one expected, Gojo shoots the red straight up in the air, which seems to really freak out Sukuna because he yells for Maharaga to stop it. After Maharaga breaks through the building that they were in to catch up to the launched red, it's revealed that the maximum output blue orb Gojo used to destroy Agito in the previous chapter is still active. Maharaga then moves to neutralize the blue, but Gojo teleports in between both of them and nails him with a solid punch. Sukuna then tries to capitalize on a distracted Gojo by shooting a piercing water attack at the red orb in order to destroy it, but just in the nick of time, Gojo surprisingly recites a chant that quickly strengthens the blue orb, which gives it a boost in gravitational pull to take in the water strike. Without anything left to stop it, the 2 orbs collide and create a hollow purple nuke that completely decimates the battlefield. In the aftermath, it seems that Maharaga was destroyed and Sukuna is left with 1 arm and heavily damaged. Dude is down bad and it does not seem like he has enough strength to keep going. Gojo, on the other hand, is a different story. It turns out that since the purple explosion was made of his own cursed energy, he didn't take nearly as much damage as Sukuna did. Along with that, all the consecutive black flashes earlier essentially rebooted Gojo's reverse curse technique output. So my boy Gojo is as good as new, while Sukuna doesn't even have the strength to use domain amplification anymore. Along with the fact that Maharaga is now destroyed, this means that Sukuna has no way of stopping Gojo's infinity anymore. Long story short, it seems to be a checkmate for the King of Curses, and it's even called out on the page as Gojo heals himself. As they say, while it seems that Gojo has won the battle, the war is still long from over. Not only has Kenjaku been MIA for like 10 chapters, Sukuna himself still has a trump card or 2 he has yet to use. This was even alluded to in chapter 234 by Hikari. For starters, we still haven't seen what Sukuna's true curse technique is, and he hasn't even pulled out the fire technique that we saw him use against Jogo during the Shibuya arc. I mean, it's still very much possible that Sukuna somehow has multiple abilities or curse techniques ready to use when he's in a pinch, triggered when he chants a still undisclosed phrase along with the phrase open. Well, he's in a bigger pinch now than he's ever been before, so it would be the right time to catch Gojo off guard with something that he hasn't seen before. It's also been hinted that Sukuna's true curse technique is related to his cannibalistic theme. His cleave and dismantle abilities were initially described using butcher's knives, and in one of the only images of Heian era Sukuna that we have, he appears to have a mouth on his stomach. I mean, when he first took over Megumi's body, he grew his head to like this enormous size and took a massive bite out of Nana Kurusu, alluding to the fact that his curse technique might have something to do with ingesting other people for a certain benefit. He might be able to gain the cursed energy and possibly even the cursed technique of anyone that he consumes. This is made more possible by the fact that Gege Akutami is a big fan of Yoshihiro Togashi, who of course is the creator of Hunter x Hunter. Togashi gave a similar ability as this to King Meruem, who had the ability to consume a Nen user's aura and even gain their Hatsu, or Nen ability, same thing. I wouldn't be surprised if this inspired Gege to give the King of Curses a similar power. I mean, there's already been a few Togashi homages in this very fight, with Sukuna looking like he's doing a spirit gun motion or something as he uses Dismantle. On top of that, we still haven't seen Sukuna use the gift that was given to him by Yorozu at the end of their fight. Yorozu's curse technique was Construction, which allows her to recreate any substance that she recognizes, so it is not an exaggeration when I say that the gift that she gave to Sukuna could literally be anything. All we have to go off of are her final words, when she says, "Here, this is for you. Think of it as me and use it with care." There's just no way of knowing what that means in terms of the actual gift she gave him. But hey, leave your theories about what this gift could be in the comments below, and subscribe while you're at it, yeah? One thing we do know though is that if Sukuna is still able to utilize Totality with the 10 Shadows, it'll be stronger than ever before now that Maharaga's been taken out. I recently made a detailed video on a potential 10 Shikigami Totality, with Sukuna using Megumi's body as the base to merge all 10 destroyed Shikigami into himself, giving him a massive cursed energy buff and would even allow him to use powerful abilities like Maharaga's Sword of Extermination for himself. After all, we still have no idea what happens after a 10 Shadows user Shikigami have all been destroyed. I wouldn't be surprised if it triggered some kind of final ability that activates a maximum technique of some kind. On the other hand, it's quite possible that Sukuna's need for Megumi's body has come to an end, and that means it's time for him to change appearances again, so to speak. The fight between the two strongest could have been a setup to weaken Gojo all along, and now that he might have a false sense of victory after beating Sukuna, this would be a perfect time for Kenjaku, the king of perfect timing, to make an appearance. Much like Toji's strategy against Gojo during the hidden inventory arc, Gojo might be feeling some kind of fatigue from this long drawn out fight and currently have a false sense of security. If Kenjaku was able to hop in at the last second and restrain Gojo somehow for a brief moment, like he did with the prison realm, this would then give Sukuna just enough time to do what he did with Megumi and use one of his fingers to take over Gojo's body. This would make him literally unbeatable, as he'd be taking out Gojo and gaining his broken abilities in a single action. In a completely insane scenario, the last two theories I just laid out could happen at the same time, where Sukuna uses a totality on himself to gain the Sword of Extermination from Maharaga. He then uses it to slice through Gojo's Limitless, which would allow him to deal enough damage for Kenjaku to hop in and restrain Gojo for a brief moment. Sukuna then uses this crucial moment to make Gojo ingest one of his fingers containing his soul. I know it sounds kind of confusing and convoluted, but it seems like body swapping in general is going to play a major role in the story somehow, as we saw that before the fight even began, Yuji had somehow obtained some kind of body or soul swapping technique, as shown when he was sparring with Kusakabe in chapter 222. We could be seeing some kind of soul and body musical chairs match, with Yuji trying to get Gojo's body back from Sukuna, since there's literally no way anyone could stop him in a straight up fight. Gege seems to have a thing for traumatizing his readers with unexpected and tragic character deaths, so I'm sure that many of you share the same feeling that I have, that the ending of chapter 235 just seems way too much like a happy ending and too easy. With all the uncertainties that are still out there in the story currently, one thing that is for certain is that next chapter Gege definitely has something extremely tragic, or at the very least extremely exciting in store for us.